All right, we are heading into Week 12, and you know what that means? The NFL postseason picture is finally starting to get clear. We're seeing the real contenders pull away from the pretenders, and for a lot of teams, let's be honest, the playoffs have basically already started. So who's in, who's out, and who's just barely hanging on? Let's break it all down.
So here's what we're going to do. We'll dive right into this high-stakes playoff race. We're going to look at the teams that are projected to make it and the teams that are on the bubble in both the AFC and the NFC. And then we'll get you set for what's going to be a dramatic final stretch of the season.
You know, with just a handful of games left, the pressure is just massive. Every single game, every win, every loss can completely change a team's destiny. That margin for error, it's getting smaller and smaller, and for some teams, it's already completely gone. Okay, let's kick things off in the AFC. And man, it is shaping up to be an absolute dogfight. We'll start with the 7 teams that, as of right now, are projected to be playing in January. Now take a look at this. What's really interesting here are the high probabilities for those top teams. You got the Patriots leading the whole conference with a 94% chance, and the Colts and Broncos are right there, both over 90%. But then, look down at the bottom. The Texans and Steelers are barely above a coin flip. Their spots are seriously hanging by a thread. So for these top dogs, it is all about keeping that momentum going. The Patriots have a huge advantage here, a pretty manageable schedule coming up, even with losing a key guy like Milton Williams. For the Colts, it's simple. Ball security. Daniel Jones has got to stop turning the ball over. And the Broncos, they are just red hot, winning 8 straight games as they head into a much-needed bye week.
Now this is where it gets really fun, the wild card race. Baltimore's defense has completely flipped a switch this season. They've become a truly elite shutdown unit. Then you have the Bills, who, despite that 80% chance, are kind of stumbling a bit, which could set up an absolutely epic Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson matchup on Wild Card Weekend. And you just can't count out the Texans. They haven't lost with Davis Mills, and now they get C.J. Stroud back. Watch out.
And this quote right here, this perfectly illustrates the mindset of those Texans under DeMeco Ryans. It's not always going to be pretty, but they just find a way to win. That's that gritty, resilient attitude that has them in a playoff spot right now.
Okay, so now let's talk about the AFC bubble. This is where the real drama starts, with teams whose entire seasons are basically on the line every single Sunday.
I mean, just look at how tight this is. The Jaguars and Chargers are separated by a single percentage point. That head-to-head game in Week 11 was absolutely massive for Jacksonville. The Chargers, on the other hand, just laid an egg, and now they have to face a brutal schedule to finish the year. That's the razor's edge we're talking about in this playoff race.
And here it is, probably the biggest surprise in the entire AFC. The Kansas City Chiefs, after losing in Denver, are on the outside looking in. And their path to get back in, it's incredibly difficult. They've still got games against the Colts, Texans, and Chargers. They might have to go 5-1 down the stretch just to have a shot.
All right, let's hop over to the other conference. The NFC feels a little different. It's a bit more top-heavy, with some clear powerhouses that are really establishing themselves as the teams to beat.
Yeah, these numbers tell a pretty clear story of dominance at the top. The Eagles, Rams, and Buccaneers all have a 90% chance or better to make it. And even the wildcard teams, the Seahawks, Packers, and 49ers, are all sitting very comfortably above 75%. This conference is absolutely loaded with heavyweights.
So let's look closer at these division leaders. The Eagles are winning, sure, but their offense has been kind of quiet lately. They're going to need more firepower. The Rams, on the other hand, are on an absolute tear, 5 straight wins, and they look unstoppable on both sides of the ball. And then you have the Lions. Even though they've lost a few recently, that Thanksgiving Day game against the Packers, it is huge. It could very well decide the entire NFC North.
This quote right here perfectly captures the hype for that upcoming Eagles game against the Cowboys. This isn't just another game. It's a battle of titans, with legacy-defining moments on the line. Hall of Famers in this game. That really says it all, doesn't it?
You know, these NFC wildcard teams are terrifying in their own right. The Seahawks are just quietly stacking up wins. The Packers are being carried by a ferocious defense, led by Micah Parsons, who is just terrorizing quarterbacks. He leads the entire NFL in pressures. And then the 49ers, with Brock Purdy coming back, they're about to level up an offense that was already one of the best in the league.
So, with such a strong field already in place, what does that mean for the teams on the bubble in the NFC? Well, it means they have a massive, massive mountain to climb.
I mean, this chart tells you everything you need to know.
The Bears are the first team out, but they're barely over 50%. And after them, it is a steep, steep drop-off. The Panthers are down at 20%, the Cowboys at just 17%. The gap between the real contenders and everyone else in the NFC is just huge.
And the road ahead for these teams doesn't get any easier. The Bears have an absolute gauntlet of tough opponents left. For the Panthers, hey, getting to 6 wins is a great step for the franchise, but it's just not going to be enough in this loaded conference. The Cowboys, they basically need to be perfect the rest of the way to even have a prayer. And the Vikings, well, after losing 4 of their last 5, they pretty much faded from the picture.
So what does this all mean as we head into this final decisive stretch of the season? It means the price of admission for the NFC playoffs is going to be incredibly high. It might take 11 wins just to get a ticket to the dance in the NFC. Think about that for a second. That's a remarkable standard. So looking at this entire field with all the strengths and all the weaknesses we've talked about, the final question is pretty simple. Who truly has what it takes to get there?